Blurb on each one.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to welcome everyone to our business meeting of May 8th, 2019. It is now 9 a.m. On behalf of the City of Truth or Consequences, Mayor Pro Tem Clark, Manager Madrid, Clerk Canton, welcome and thank you for being here. This meeting is now called to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Sandra Whitehead.
Here.
Honorable Kathy Clark.
Here.
Honorable Ralph Heschler.
Present.
Honorable Paul Baca.
Here.
Honorable George Cicchetti.
Here.
Madam Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda this morning is item 2, silent meditation. Please join me in 15 seconds of silent meditation. Thank you. The next item on our agenda this morning is the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Baca, would you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The next item is item number 4, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to approve the agenda, or move to approve the agenda with the exception of item C2, which will have to be rescheduled.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second, Mayor.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda with the exception of C2, proclamation naming April 14, 2019 as State Environthon Champion Hot Springs High School. They have to reschedule as other commitments have come up. Is there any other discussion, questions, comments?
Madam Mayor, can we pull consent calendar number 1, City Commission regular minutes, April 10th, 2019 for a separate discussion? I need to make a correction.
2000, which one?
Number 1.
Oh, number 1, okay. All right. Is there any further discussion, questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Thank you. The next item on our agenda this morning is item C, presentations. Our first presentation, C1, presentation of a mayor's commendation to Joni Griffin, who was chosen as one of 3 of the 2019 inductees, class New Mexico Tourism Hall of Fame at the 2019 New Mexico True Governors Conference on Hospitality and Tourism on April 30th, 2019. Ms. Joni Griffith, could I ask you to step forward, please? Just, if you want to come right up here, please. Right up here. All right, I'm going to read this commendation. It says, Mayor's Commendation presented to Joni Griffin with our sincerest appreciation and recognition of your induction to the New Mexico Tourism Hall of Fame by the New Mexico Hospitality Association. We commend you and want to make sure you know your tireless efforts and continued dedication to the city and tourism do not go unnoticed. Dated this 8th day of May 2019, signed by myself as the mayor, City Manager Madrid, and Clerk Renee Canton. Thank you so much.
Did you really want to do
How about here by the corporate steel?
She's got it.
That's why she's good at her job, right?
That's why she did it.
We're tourism professionals. Thank you, I really appreciate it.
Congratulations, congratulations.
So you made her drive all the way down here for that?
See, they're in and out.
Last person's an Alamogordo, she's out of here.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on our agenda this morning is item C3, presentations, proclamation naming May as Poppy Month for the American Legion Auxiliary. If I could ask the auxiliary ladies to come forward, please, and I will read this proclamation. Gives me great pleasure to present this proclamation from the City of Truth or Consequences. Whereas America is the land of freedom, preserved and protected willingly and freely by citizen soldiers, and whereas millions who have answered the call to arms have died on the field of battle, and whereas a nation of peace must be reminded of the price of war and the debt owed to those who have died in war. And whereas the red poppy has been designated as a symbol of sacrifice of lives in all wars, and whereas the American Legion Auxiliary has pledged to remind America annually of this debt through the distribution of the memorial flower. Now, therefore, I, Sandra Whitehead, Mayor, on behalf of the City Commission of the City of Truth or Consequences, Sierra County, New Mexico, do hereby proclaim May 2019 as Poppy Month in Truth or Consequences, and ask all citizens to pay tribute to those who have made the ultimate sacrifice in the name of freedom by wearing the memorial poppy during the month of May, and especially on Memorial Day, Monday, May 27, 2019, signed by myself as Mayor and our clerk, Renee Canton, and I'm happy to present this to you, ladies.
Let's do the same thing.
Second photo op.
Oh, I should have worn red. The next item on the agenda is item C4, proclamation for the 50th Annual Municipal Clerks Week, May 5th to May 11th, 2019. Can I ask all the municipal clerks to step forward, please? And it gives me great pleasure again to read this proclamation and present it to our wonderful clerks that take care of our office and our staff at the City of Truth or Consequences. Proclamation, the City of Truth or Consequences, whereas the office of the municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of the local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of the municipal clerk provides a professional link between the citizens, the local government, governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels, and whereas the municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartially rendering equal service to all, whereas the municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community, whereas municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, province, county, and international professional organizations, whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the city of the municipal clerk, the office of the municipal clerk. Now, therefore, I, Sandra Whitehead, Mayor, on behalf of the City Commission of the City of Truth or Consequences, Sierra County, New Mexico, do hereby proclaim May 5th through May 11th, 2019 as Municipal Clerks Week in Truth or Consequences, and further extend appreciation to our City Clerk Treasurer Renee Canton, Deputy Clerk Angela Torres, Assistant Clerk Lisa Gabaldon, and all municipal clerks for the vital service they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. signed by myself, Sandra Whitehead, Mayor, and our clerk, Renee Canton. Congratulations, ladies, and thank you. Okay, girls, come on.
Sandy just likes getting the picture.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Nice job, ladies.
The next item on our agenda this morning is item C5, proclamation of National Police Week from May 12th through May 18th, 2019, and National Peace Officers Memorial Day on May 15th, 2019. Let's see, I have an officer over here in the corner and our chief. Come on down. It gives me great pleasure to present this proclamation. It says, proclamation, the City of Truth or Consequences, whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15, 2019 as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which it falls as National Police Week. And whereas TRC is proud of our dedicated police officers who put their lives at risk every day in order to keep our communities safe. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, hazards, and the sacrifices of their police department, and that members of our police department recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, protecting them against violence and disorder, and protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression or intimidation. And whereas Law Enforcement Appreciation Day is an opportunity to show our support for all law enforcement and to honor their immense efforts while they provide a vital public service. Now, therefore, I, Sandra Whitehead, Mayor, on behalf of the City Commission of the City of Truth or Consequences, Sierra County, New Mexico, do hereby proclaim the week of May 12th through the 18th, 2019 as National Police Week and May 15th, 2019 as Peace Officers Memorial Day in Truth or Consequences with appropriate observation in which all of our people may join in honoring law enforcement officers, past and present, who have by faithful devotion to their duties have rendered a dedicated service to their communities and have established for themselves a reputation to preserve the rights and security of all citizens, and also in honor of those who have made their ultimate sacrifice in service to their community or have become disabled in the performance of duty. Signed by myself, Sandra Whitehead, Mayor, and our City Clerk, Renee Canton. And again, thank you folks, thank you guys for all your service, men and women. We appreciate everything you do for us, every day, all the time. Here we go. Okay, let's get back over here.
All right, let's
Take another
do,
photo.
let's do the official one that we did.
The official?
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll do it.
this one is
A
the,
big one later.
yeah, we can have it here. Okay. I think I got everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, moving right along, the next item on our agenda this morning is item D, comments from the public. Again, I ask you to remember our 3-minute rule. If you have any documentation that needs to be presented to the commission, please put it in the little black box at the podium. When you approach the podium, give your name and address, and you have 3 minutes. Do I have any public comment this morning? Any public comment? Going once? Going once?
Don't go
Oh
yet.
my gosh, you made it in by the skin of
Thank
your
you.
teeth.
Good morning,
Good morning,
Commission. Ron Fenn, 316 North Foch. A couple of weeks ago, I presented a proposal to the city, which was requested of me after I made an initial oral proposal to the city manager, and he said, put it in writing and we'll discuss it or whatever. This proposal was for the rent of the Lee Bell Johnson Center at a rate higher than the city ever received in the last 4 years. And after presenting it to you all, I heard no discussion by the city commission, who's supposed to be making these decisions, and I received a letter on the 25th of April. I will read it. It's not very long. Dear Mr. Fenn, thank you for your proposal regarding the lease of the Lee Bell Johnson building. Additionally, thank you for all your perspective on this and many other issues. While I'm writing now to inform you that I am rejecting your offer, I look forward to a continued sharing of ideas and endeavors. Thank you for your involvement and dedication to the community. Sincerely, Morris, Madrid. This is a slap in the face, folks. I went through a lot of effort to make this proposal, which I believe is an honest and reasonable proposal, considering the fact that Spaceport's year-to-date report total 431 guests for a total of $20,320, of which $1,828 went to the spaceport and nothing to the citizens of Truth or Consequences who have given up their community center. This is not a good way to run business. This is not a tourist industry. You are supposed to be looking out for the welfare of the people of this community. The people, not the businesses. And yet, nothing is done for the people. This is tragic. You all should hang your heads in shame. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
Good morning, Madam Mayor, Commissioners. Ron Pecori, TRC. I'm in here in reference to the double roundabouts on Smith Row Avenue and New School Road. I went to their presentation last year, and I thought it was real weak. The presentation was at the high school auditorium cafeteria, which was full. And up front, I'll tell you, after that presentation, there was only one person who was in favor of any of the roundabouts. And that was the guy who owned Sonic, and that they didn't have federal funding for that roundabout. Now, their presentation was weak as far as I'm concerned. They put up on the screen that there was 31 accidents between 2011 and 2013. Of course, Ron raised his card and said, what about the accidents on 2014, 15, 16, and 17? Because the presentation was 18. Didn't get a response. Then they showed up 53-mile-an-hour speed limit, and it said that that was a speeding zone right there by Pizza Hut and the bank. And of course, Ron raised his card. Well, if that's a speeding zone, you guys are responsible for the speed limit, and you'd still deem that 40 miles an hour as a safe speed for that supposedly blind curve that they use, blind curve. Right, they're coming out of New School Road. Then I said, have y'all went to the police department or the state police to find out how many speeding tickets were done during that period that you guys are talking about? And they said, no, they didn't. Then they talked about putting in a crosswalk, a safety crosswalk. Well, I've not seen a lot of people walking across from New School Road over to the Moose. So I'm not sure what that was all about. Now, this is all about safety for our community, safety for our community. They had, and then one of the officials from the Moose stood up and asked, what about the survey that was done and putting a traffic light in at New School Road? And they said that the study showed that there was not enough traffic to warrant a traffic light there. But yet, they got federal money to put in 2 roundabouts. And in their propaganda, they passed out, it says in here, and I'm thinking about the school buses going through there, truck drivers shall stay in the middle lane as they approach the use of the truck apron and need multiple lanes roundabout. Large semi-trucks may need to straddle both lanes and enter traveling through the roundabout. They even talk about being on the shoulder. Sorry.
Thank you, Ron.
If anybody wants to talk to me offline, I'm more than willing.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mayor, City Commissioners, Linda DiMarino on behalf of Main Street Truth or Consequences. First off, I just want to invite you to the second Saturday Art Hop, which happens this Saturday night, 6 to 9 p.m. There'll be lots of art openings and music and food and everything else. It's a good time to come downtown for dinner and stay for all the art. Secondly, we are continuing with our customer service training program, which you are a partner in. We've had about 20 people so far attend the sessions. We have about another 30 signed up, and information for that is there's an ad in the Sentinel this week. There's also information on our Facebook page. And so anybody you see working with the public that could use a couple extra pointers, send them to us. And lastly, on Thursday, May 23rd, we're going to have our downtown hall meeting that we've been talking about, and that's going to encompass a couple different things. Number one being the most current iteration of the Foch Street redesign project, and then also we're going to get input from the public on live-work situations and what the requirements should be, vacancies of downtown buildings, and also commercial chains in the downtown. So that's going to be 6 o'clock at the Spaceport Visitor Center, Thursday, March 23rd, and we hope to see you all there. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Good morning. Randall Lawson, 701 Poplar Street. And I am here to commend each and every one of you, for you have done something amazing for our community. And I am with Friends of the Pool. This is the first time, and I don't know how long, that we can feel like we're not beating our heads up against the wall. We're actually getting some feedback, we're getting help, we're getting, I'm at a loss for words, because it's such a good feeling to know that all of you are on board and you understand that our pool is a viable part of this community, not only for us older people, but for the younger people, for everybody concerned in this community, and I commend you all. Mayor Whitehead, I appreciate you for getting us started, having the foresight to make sure that that you have understood that it is a viable part of our community. Commissioners, I thank you for following her lead. And Mr. Madrid, we appreciate you, sir. And keep up the good work, because, you know, it's whatever anybody says, it's taken us a long time to get where we're at. Some of the other issues I don't know about, but you certainly have helped us, and I want you all to know how deeply we appreciate each and every one of you. And thanks again so, so much.
Thank you, Mr. Lawson. Is there any further public comment this morning? Any further public comments? Hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to our next item, which is response to public comment. Do I have any response to any of the public comments this morning?
Madam Mayor.
Manager Madrid.
I have a brief one. I just want to take the thank you just heard and divert that to Kyle Blaylock and his crew. And especially with Tammy's support, who still gives me a lot of good advice regarding the pool. They're the ones on the ground that actually provide the customer service. And I've seen it, and they do deserve the credit for that.
And they
Thank
do.
you.
Thank you. Do we have any further response to public comment this morning? Mayor Pro Tem Clark.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Manager Madrid for making that comment, because it is very evident who is actually putting a lot of work into the pool.
And they have put a lot of work. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that, and I also thank the mayor and Linda DiMarino for putting together that May 23rd meeting at 6 p.m. I really appreciate that a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any further public response?
Yeah, I would like,
Mr. Zagetti.
I have heard some good feedback about the customer service training. There were some, suggestions made, but it is, for improvements, but it is a very worthwhile program. And especially the teaching people about the awareness of our assets. There have been a number of times when we have been out at a restaurant or something, and somebody would ask about something local, and the staff wouldn't have a clue, what they were asking about. And then we would have to step in and, help them out. But I think that's a very important part of doing business in this community. And finally, one comment from Mr. Fenn really sticks in my craw when he said nothing is done for the people. That this community does more for its citizens. The facilities that are provided, the pool, the golf course, the senior center, the meal site, all of that. There is so much done for the people of this town. And to base that statement solely on the use of that one building, I think is really it's a low comment, and I almost hate to reply to it, but it is such a baseless comment that I have to say something. That's all.
Thank you, Commissioner Zagetti. Is there any other responses this morning? Hearing none, we'll move on to our next item on our agenda, and that is our consent calendar. We have pulled item F1, City Commission regular minutes for April 10th, 2019, to be discussed separately. So let's go ahead. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
What was the reason why you pulled it? That wasn't clear on that.
Commissioner,
I pulled it. I pulled one of them. It's a comment that I had made that's on there, and I just wanted to have a little comment about it.
Okay, we didn't see that.
Yeah, do you want to,
do we want?
we want to do that last?
Let's just
do
make
the
a motion.
consent.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Are we going to do that one last? Do you want to do that one last or first? Let's go ahead and do it first, since it's
Okay.
item 1. So let's have a
Okay,
motion.
so the reason that, that I pulled it, and I want to make this comment, and then we can make a motion
Okay.
to approve them. There was a comment that I made on that meeting, and I misspoke. There was, we had just passed something that Tracy had brought to us about application for some water lines, and I made a comment that from what I understood in the last 6 or so years, we've put between $18 and $20 million into our infrastructure. Was what I meant to say, and what I did say was 18,000 to 20,000 into the wastewater So I misspoke, and I wanted to make that clear to my commissioners, that that is not what the intent of my comment was, but that's exactly what I did say, so I wanted to correct it. And I also wanted to suggest that, that I will sit down with Manager Madrid and go through like the last 6 years. And let's take a look at exactly how much money we have approved to go into our infrastructure, what we have put into it, so that when someone comes up to us and makes a complaint, we can say, you know, we have been investing in infrastructure, you just don't see it. And this is what we've done in the last 6 years, and this is what we've got on the docket for the future. That's kind of where I would like to go with that, but I just wanted you to know that this is correct in the minutes, that that was not the intent of what I intended to say. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
So I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the City Commissioner regular minutes, April 10th, 2019.
Thank you. And do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the City Commission regular minutes as submitted for April 10th, 2019. Is there any further questions, comments, concerns, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. To continue with the consent calendar, item F2 through 5. F2 is City Commission regular minutes, April 24th, 2019. F3 is Library Advisory Board minutes, April 29th, 2019. F4, Golf Course Advisory Board minutes, March 6th, 2019. And F5, accounts payable for April 2019. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar as noted?
Mayor White, I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the calendar as noted with F2 through 5. Is there any further questions, comments, concerns, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. The next item on our agenda this morning is item G, ordinances and resolutions and zoning. The first item is public hearing, discussion, action, request for a plat amendment at 910 North Date Street for Michael Merle of Monaco Properties, Inc., pursuant to Chapter 15, Section 1517, Amendment of Plats. Manager Morris Madrid. At this time, too, I would just like to let the public know that we will be having a public hearing. If anyone needs to sign in to speak on behalf as an opponent, proponent, public, city, please sign in.
Yeah, and what I recommend when you talk about public hearing, yes, it doesn't involve real estate or usual protocol, it actually includes official procedure.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Manager Madrid.
Mayor, Commissioners, as a background to this item, before we get started on the public hearing, the purpose of this item is to discuss and approve or deny a request for a plat amendment at 910 North Date Street. This is pursuant to Chapter 15, Section 15 through 17, Amendment of Plats. The applicant is Michael Merrill of Monaco Properties. As you can see on the screen, there is a piece of property, and let's see if I can point it out.
Sorry, it's upside down in the packet. It's upside down in the pack, yeah.
Right here, that kind of a trapezoid. That would be the new boundary. It would be redrawn from the straight boundary here and move that way. That's the plat amendment. It's a simple amendment. It just redraws the boundary. There are no zoning issues. There are no right-of-way issues. We have not received any protests.
The line's not right.
That's not right?
He's not understanding the
Oh,
lot
okay.
line.
Okay.
Is that the wrong one?
Yes, sir, can I point out?
Please, thank you, Cindy.
What they're doing is separating off this building that was the garage, and the lot line is here to here. And then from there, it's the line up on the top.
Okay.
Thank you, Cindy.
Now, this involves a bigger issue with the schools. The idea is to redraw the boundary in order for the schools to acquire the property. There is another use of another piece of property that's contingent upon this transaction. You can see the building a little bit better there. I'll ask Cindy to point that out for us.
Cindy, Cindy, come back up, please, so you can point out the actual building of the, if you don't mind, please.
Sure. May I speak in general, Mayor?
Sure, go right ahead.
Mr. Merrill, is it okay if I speak to this? Mr. Merrill, is it okay if I speak to this?
Absolutely.
Okay. The city, the TRC schools has made an
Cindy, do
offer.
you want to, excuse me just a minute, Mayor, does she want to have that microphone over there
Cindy,
so that
do you
we
need
can
the mic?
record this?
I can speak louder if you want me to.
Well, it's just dependent upon whether the
Yeah.
the clerk can get it.
Okay.
Thank you.
The Truth or Consequences School District has made an offer on this back building for their central services, in addition to the building on the corner for their maintenance department, but they couldn't move the entire central services without a warehouse. And so Mr. Merrill, who owns all this property, agreed, if the city agreed, to sever this garage for them to use as a warehouse.
So that is the purpose of the plat amendment. If you'd like to start the public hearing now, Mayor.
Okay, I will go ahead and open the public hearing. This will be a batter shell process. So what I'm going to do is ask Michael Merle, Randy Piper, Cindy Torres, and Sam Jones, and anyone from the city that is speaking on behalf of this, Manager Madrid, to please stand and raise your right hand. The clerk will administer the oath.
Just raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, so I'm good.
Here's a question, I thought about the sheets in front, were there any opponents signed in?
There is one opponent, which is Sam Jones, and then there are 3 proponents, which is Michael Merle, Randy Piper, and Cindy Torres.
Okay.
So I'm just going to follow the process of our notes here. So what I'm going to do first is call Sam Jones, who has signed in as an opponent, to come forward and give your presentation, please.
Good morning, Council. My name is Chuck Jones. I'm Sam's brother. He owns Raymond's Lounge. And we're aware of the liquor license rules of, liquor establishments being in proximity of public schools or similar churches and schools. And what we're concerned about, and correct me if I'm wrong, what we're concerned about is with the extension or the readjustment of the lot line for that central building that they're trying to acquire, put right there, that one. That adjusts the lot line so that if at the back of the lounge on the west side, if we wish to extend the building, then that takes it closer to school property. And that would mean we wouldn't be able to extend the building. And that's our objection. Is that correct? I know. And so that's what we're concerned about. So what we would like to do is get a permanent construction waiver or permanent waiver to extend the building when we get to a point where we want to expand it. We understand we're grandfathered in and we can sell the building and the property grandfathered in, but we need the ability to expand the building. And so that's really our only concern at this point, and we would just like to get a permanent waiver.
Manager Madrid.
Mayor, I don't, a couple of points. The first one is, I think the language in the Alcohol and Beverage Control Act refers to proximity to schools, not school property. And number two, I don't think that we can issue a permit based on a hypothetical or possible use of property. So I don't think it's necessary.
Right, and you're not the property owner.
I-
We understand, we spoke with the liquor board in Santa Fe and met with the deputy director there, and we're responding to what she told us we could and couldn't do. And what we're concerned about, we understand the school situation and the children and all of that, but what is the long-term plan for the building? See, we don't know right now. And down the road, it could be used for children of some sort. We don't know. And there are going to be families and children in and out. It's going to be an administration building, is that right? Is that correct? Well, see, that's going to involve children. That's going to involve families. And, you know, because of that, we have these issues, or concerns, not issues, but concerns.
Commissioner Baca, could I ask you to address that? Can you explain what, if anything, or do you know what the building is going to be used for?
And just so you know, you got to speak up a little bit, because he's a little hard of hearing, and so.
I'm not totally positive, but I know the bigger building on the right, I think, is going to be the administration building, and that's all I know.
Do we have any other commissioners that have comments or concerns or questions?
Just as the city manager pointed out, the language, the liquor laws states school buildings, which would be, say, the high school or the middle school or the elementary school, and not administrative offices. So, you know, and that, I believe they said earlier that the intention was to use that building as a warehouse for storage.
Right.
So that,
Just the one on the left, I think, is.
Just the one on the left.
They used to be H&O. I believe that's going to be the warehouse one.
and then they say they
That's the
needed
one we're
the
talking about.
building
We're not
for
talking about
storage.
right
The
side.
one on the left, which is the one that's in closest proximity to the lounge.
Thank you. Attorney Rubin, do you have any? I see you.
I was just trying to think this through. Mr. Chairman, you said you did call someone in Santa Fe.
We actually met with them, spoke with them.
Are they aware of what the intended use of the building is going to be?
They are aware that it's a school property.
Because Mr. Madrid has made distinction between school property and just, you know, buildings maybe used for school purposes was not really where school would be. Is Santa Fe aware of that distinction?
They were not aware of any distinction. They were simply stating that because of a school property, it could be an issue. Now, with all of this said, our point of conflict is where the south side of the lot line comes in contact. On this thing that I have here, this is Raymond's Lounge right here. So we're like this, like that. And so this lot line adjustment here is what causes conflict, or could potentially cause conflict, where they're coming in out. And the way I understood it, when you guys were going through it, maintenance, administration, and storage, or warehouse, right? But the problem is, there's still school buildings. And I've heard two comments regarding the laws that are on the books, and it says, and correct me if I'm wrong, school building. Does it specifically differentiate between high school, junior high, grade school, preschool building, and warehouse and administration?
I believe the language is school, not school building, school.
Schools.
And there is a difference in the purpose of the property.
Does Mr. Rubin have a comment?
Well, I tend to agree with the city manager that it does say school. However, I don't know if there's any case law out there where the courts have interpreted the word school to mean more than that. I don't know. And I have to admit, I didn't know this was coming up until now, so I haven't researched it. I don't know.
Well, we don't want to be the ones that have to spend the money to prove the point and make it a precedent. You know, we need to know before this moves forward. And it's not that we don't want it to move forward. We appreciate everybody's position, especially Mr. Merrill. But, you know, if we have our investments as well, or my brother does, and we can't be restricted from expanding because of, we're thinking this is what the laws say. You understand?
Right.
Ms. Whitehead?
And
And
we'll make sure that the determination is proper, but I think that the city manager has mentioned that the code says liquor license schools, and so, but we will make that determination. We will not put anybody in jeopardy, be it you or the schools, so.
right, and the deputy director that we met with did say that you can get a permanent waiver. So it is possible. It is done.
Well, and I understand that point, but of course, that would require separate agenda action.
Yes.
Like on the
Yes.
agenda for us to consider at this point, you know, skipping the waiver. Again, that's part of the problem I'm trying to grapple with. You know, I have on the agenda in front of me is the request for a plat amendment, for the purpose of what we're talking about here. It's all new to me today, so walking in, we're talking about a waiver here, so that's the I just really can't really address at this point.
So,
Madam
Mr.
Mayor?
Yes,
Can I just read the regulation to us?
you may, please.
It says,
Nice and loud, okay? Please get closer to the
Sure.
mic, please.
It says location near church or school restrictions or on licensing. No license shall be issued by the director for the sale of alcoholic beverages at a licensed premise where alcoholic beverages were not sold prior to July 1st, 1981, that is within 300 feet of any church or school. A license may be granted for a purpose licensed premises if the owner or lessee has prior to establishment of a church or school located within 300 feet of the proposed premises, applied for, been granted, and maintained a valid building permit for the construction or renovation of the proposed licensed premises, or has filed on a form prescribed by the director a notice of intention to apply for transfer of license to the proposed licensed premises. So that's basically what the first part of that regulation in the state of New Mexico says. It says school, so it could be a little ambiguous.
That's it.
And that's the question mark. And also the question mark would be, what would happen if Raymond's wanted to sell itself, even though prior to 81 they've been selling liquor? Would that be a sellable property if the school is right next to it?
According
Since
to
you
the-
would have been grandfathered in. So
Yeah.
there are some questions.
According to the deputy director for alcohol in Santa Fe, we're grandfathered in as is and can resell as is, according to them. What we're concerned about is being able to expand. That's it. And that there, it says schools. You know, that's like saying people. You know, there's caveats to all of that. So-
Manager Madrid.
Mayor, I think that the language would actually protect the business owner, because presently, it's pretty plain there is no intent to locate a school in this building. However, if there was going to be a school located in that building, it would take some work. It would take some renovation or modification that would require a permit from the city. The city would probably be violating the law if we allowed a school to be located near a liquor establishment. I think it's kind of, who was there first? If there was a school there, we can't allow a liquor store next door. If there was a liquor store there first, we can't allow a school to be built next to it. In this case, I think you were there first.
Yeah, by about 20 years or so. So we appreciate that, really do. But we don't want to, we just don't want a mistake to happen that's going to wind up putting us at odds with anybody. And right now is the time to catch that. And that's just really all we're concerned about. You know, we don't want to be in opposition. We don't want to be opposers. We don't want to be contrary. We want to be agreeable and do what we can, especially to support any growth in Tier C. But at the same time, you know, we have this investment, and I appreciate Ms. Clark's reading of the rules there, the laws, and it does say schools, and you can say, well, there's a bunch of churches over there. You know, some might be Mormon, some might be Baptist, some might be Catholic. They're all a little different. And what's allowed on one property is a little different than the other. And schools is, I think you used the word ambiguous. That's what it is. So, and I understand you, Mr. Madrid. We're there first. We are grandfathered in for the sale and the use of the building as is. Yes. And that's the catch, as is. We understand that. That's according to the state law, and I think she just read it. But our concerns have been voiced. That's why we signed up as an opposer. We didn't know how to address this otherwise. We are in agreement of it, but we are in opposition because we don't know where we stand after this happens.
Thank you, and we thank you for your concerns and your presentation. And again, we will look into this and make sure that whatever happens, happens to the benefit of both parties.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Ms. Whitehead. Is there any guarantee or anything that the council can go on record saying we'll be informed as to the finding before this moves on?
Well, I think the action is scheduled for today, so I think if you stay around a little while, it'll be evident.
Well, how can it be approved if it's not researched today?
Well, I don't think it really needs to be researched any further. I think the record, the boundaries, and the laws are clear enough for the commission to make a decision today.
And then I think at the time that Raymond's plans on expanding, then at that time you need to bring your presentation back to the commission, and then we will decide on your issue at that time. This time we are just talking about this one particular item, a plat amendment request. And so you have now spoken as an opponent. You've brought your concerns to us, and so in looking at the rules and regulations and Mayor Pro Tem Clark reading from the liquor license, it seems like we are following the rules that should be followed pertaining to this amendment of this plat. And again, you presented your concerns, and now we will let the proponent speak, and then we as the commissioner will take everything into consideration and make our ruling.
Okay, very good. So at this point then, the request for permanent waiver is
That is not on the agenda. Today you were just speaking as an opponent.
Okay,
And so your request is something that will have to be on a totally separate agenda.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, at this time I will ask Michael Merle to come forward as a proponent.
Madam Mayor, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, gentlemen, City Manager, my name is Mike Merrill. My Tier C address, I reside at 906 East Riverside. The three buildings that we own is, may I approach up here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And first of all, I want to say that I appreciate your concern, but I had my attorney look into it, and it says school or church. If there's a church administration, you can still have your bar there. If there's a school administration is not a school. So, and I just wanted to, because the building we're talking about is this middle building right here, correct? Okay. That's a giant shed. There's no offices in there, there's nothing. And the superintendent's just going to use that for storage. This is an office building. And in this building over here is where the AmberCare offices are now. So, but my attorney did check on your deal. It says schools, churches, not administration. There'll be no school here, gentlemen. Because when Cindy told me that the school was looking into this, my attorney and I can have, my attorney is David Chavis, and I can have him call Jay, because he called the state also. And it's schools or churches, not administration. And, I mean, we gave the school a great deal. If you've seen their building, it's terrible. And this is a great property for the school to have. It'll help you guys. I just think it'll help the school system. And I don't know what else to say, but, and I appreciate your concern. But we did call and check on this when Cindy called me. And it doesn't say anything about administration. It says a church or a school. I just will go on the record. I mean, are there any questions or anything from me?
Thank you, Mr. Merle. Let me ask the commission, are there any questions from Mr. Merle? Any questions, comments, concerns? Mr. Attorney Rubin, do you have any questions, comments?
No, I'll wait till we look up at the public hearing, I'll address the commission.
Manager Madrid?
No questions or concerns.
Thank you.
Okay, and Cindy Torres is the real estate person that knows more about this than I do for sure.
Right, and she's on my list, so I'm calling on her pretty soon.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, you're welcome. Randy Piper. Randy Piper is also signed in as a proponent.
Morning,
Good morning.
Mayor, Commissioners. Good to see you all. Haven't seen you for quite a while. Superintendent of Schools, 180 North Date Street. Commissioner Baca can attest to the condition of probably our current office. I have 3 containers that catch water in my office. My office is probably the worst one in the building, and I wouldn't put somebody else in there. Stains on the carpet. We need to upgrade what we have. And renovations would be much more expensive than what the current project would be, looking at the area up there on North Date Street. Number of kids that actually enter the building on a monthly basis, very few. I may see 2 to 3 students within our administration building in a month. Sometimes for board meetings, we do get some students that come in, but it's usually just one meeting a month. Very rarely are there students there. Sometimes parents and students I do meet with, but very rarely are they, you know, in the facility for anything at all. It is designated to be basically just district administration, as was mentioned, maintenance on the north side of what we would consider our office space, and then the warehouse that's I believe the property that's in question. But I would seek your approval of what has been submitted, and appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Piper. Do our commissioners, manager, attorney have any questions for Mr. Piper?
Are there any designs for this supposed warehouse in the future other than a warehouse?
No, it's, as it's mentioned, it's basically just a metal building, concrete floor. Don't see any school, anything being there. If we were to expand, we would probably try to, there's a, I'm going to call it a portable building up by the middle school that is completely empty, 4 classrooms. If we needed to expand for some reason, we could expand in that direction. And there's, like I said, elementary school was just recently renovated. We aren't seeing a population increase currently. Don't see a need for anything that way. We do have the portables across from the current district office. There's 3 portables over there, actually 5 classrooms if you'd consider that, if there were a need for, there was an alternative school there at one point in time, so that is still an option and property. So.
Thank you. Any further comments, questions, concerns? Thank you, Mr. Piper.
Thank you.
Cindy Torres. Cindy Torres is also signed in as a proponent. I'd also like to remind everybody that these proponents and opponents have been sworn in prior to discussion.
Thank you, Mayor Whitehead, Commission. I would just like to say that the school did not take this move lightly. We've been looking for a building for over a year. We did have one other option, but the cost was not doable with the budget with the school district. The goal of the entire project was to move everybody out of the building. I'm pretty sure that the superintendent was very light in his description of the condition of the building. But there are no other options that are economically feasible for the school at this time. And so I would ask your consideration of this plat amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Do we have any questions, comments, concerns from the commission? Attorney Rubin?
No.
Manager Madrid?
No.
Thank you, Ms. Cindy. Okay, we will now close this part of the public hearing and,
Mayor,
yes.
before you do that,
Okay.
the reason that I swore myself in was to read into the record
Oh, yes, excuse
a
me.
letter of
I
support that we
apologize.
got
We're still in public.
from a citizen that apparently could not be here today. This is, it reads, "Dear TRC City Commissioners, I do agree with the request for a plat amendment at 910 North Date Street in Truth or Consequences, New Mexico, submitted by Michael Merrill of Monaco Properties, Inc. I support that the Commissioners approve the request. Respectfully, Esther Lucchini." Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, and that will be put into record as read by Manager Madrid. Now I will close the public hearing, and we will move on to, right, Jay, is that what we'll do?
Yeah, yes.
Just move on to approving the
Yes.
request for the plat amendment?
Yes.
So is there any further questions, comments, concerns? Mayor Pro Tem Clark?
I got a list.
Okay.
One, I've spent a lot of time in that school administration building that's down there on Date Street, and I agree, it's a mess. It really is. And I feel sad for you people having to go into that building every day. And I appreciate Ms. Torres trying to help them find someplace in town, because finding those kind of buildings that will work for admin are very difficult. That being said, I do have a few comments and questions that I'd like to put out there, and I don't know if they're answerable or not. But it seems to me that I heard Manager Madrid say that if you wanted to change the use of a building to a school from an admin building, you'd have to come in for a change of use or a use of building. Is that correct?
No,
And then bring it to code, or would they be able to turn it into a school without coming in front of us?
Well, no, what I said was it would probably require a lot of renovation, which would require a permit from us.
Okay.
And at that point, we could address the distance if there would be a school use there.
Do we know how far Raymond's back door is from the proposed admin building? Is it more or less than the 300 feet?
I think his building is less than a 300-foot boundary.
So we're involved in that grandfathering in prior to 1981 with Raymond's. The question I have, and I brought up already, is if Raymond sells itself to somebody else, does the grandfather go with the sale, or does this create a problem?
Well, I understood differently. I understood that actually it's more than 300 feet. I thought what Raymond's concern was if they expanded, then they'd be within
Yeah.
300 feet.
That's what
Well, I'm just wondering from the admin building, because we've dealt with this with some of the properties downtown before, and there'd be several buildings away from where somebody wanted to put in a liquor establishment, and then we had to give a special waiver for it, correct? Right.
Maybe I wasn't clear, Commissioner. Building to building, more than 300 feet. Building to boundary, I think, is less than 300 feet.
Okay. Then I have a question about if students are in the administration building and they're having meetings or something like that, could that be construed as school, or is that still just admin?
No, I think there has to be instruction taking place for it to be considered a school.
Okay. The other question that I had out here is if we separate this metal building that they want to use for storage and there's no street access, can we legally give just alley access to a building even if it's just storage?
The right-of-way from Date Street is already established in the document. It's in the other one.
So separating this still doesn't, they still have access from Date Street?
Yes,
to
they
that
still have
building,
access.
So it's not just precluded to the alley?
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah, I'm mayor, manager. I still have a little bit, I think it would be great to be able to do this for the school, because I think it would be great, but I think it's very important that Raymond's be protected.
And if I could expand on that, Commissioner, I know that business owner was concerned about the as-is language and a possible restriction on expanding. The State Liquor Act allows for the expansion inherently under the same roof. And from what I can see, this would be, you would be extending a current structure with a contiguous roof. You're automatically entitled to that. That would not take any permission from the city other than a building permit.
Commissioner Clark, what state statute were you reading from earlier?
New Mexico.
What did the number?
What number?
Oh, it's 66B-10 here, I'll show you.
Yeah, I know I've come across it before. Let me. Well, the statute does talk in terms of boundary line to boundary line. Property line, place expresses the property line of the church or school. Just listening to this, I would agree. I'm inclined to agree with Mr. Madrid's interpretation of the statute. I just really haven't looked into this, so I don't know if there's any ramifications we would need to go with.
The statute is also up on the screen for those that are interested.
The thing to remember is that even if we say the boundary line is now less than 300 feet, the liquor owners were there first. So I don't think it would affect your present operations. I'm only just concerned about the issue what you're talking about, they're expanding, and I'm listening to Mr. Madrid's interpretation there.
I believe that it's for future purposes that the director suggested we get the permanent waiver. We don't know what's going to happen with the school warehouse. That could change.
Well, the commission has not denied the request. It's not enforced that you can still do that. I understand that. That's something you can put on a future agenda.
Yeah, and that's mostly where our major concern lies.
So Attorney Rubin, my question is if we go ahead and approve this today, and in the future, the owners of Raymond's Lounge come back because they would like to renovate and make their building bigger, then we would address that at that time, correct?
Right, yeah. By taking action, say you're not foreclosing their opportunity to come back before you.
Okay.
It's interesting. I guess I was sitting here, my initial inclination was, well, I've really never had this issue before, and I just didn't know if I wanted to take action today, so I actually looked into it. But I guess the more I'm thinking about it, I think you can proceed. I think that, we do have the word school, which is different than school administration. Mr. Madrid has also advised you about your ability to expand, with the same roof. So I'm taking into account Commissioner Clark's concern, of course, about if you end up selling, is there going to be a problem? But that's something maybe you can address by coming before us with a waiver application. So the judgment call, but I think we can proceed.
Thank you, Attorney Rubin. Do I have any further questions, comments, concerns?
Just one quick comment. I would be a little reluctant to grant a permanent waiver of some sort, not knowing what that waiver is going to be. Now, if there was a plan in place already and we could look at the plan, then I could see it. But just giving a waiver for any kind of construction there, we would lose some control of that. So I would be a little reluctant in that regard.
And
Manager Madrid.
that's another reason why we had to bring it back for another item on the agenda.
Thank you.
You know, and let's bear in mind, you know, I'm looking at really the statute, our ordinance, as was pointed out at the very beginning of this presentation. This proposed amendment does not affect utilities, drainage, or traffic, which is really what we're looking at in our code. So it's what we call a minor amendment to the plat. So, you know, you can proceed on that basis also. So, yeah, that's what I'm looking at here.
Okay, Manager Madrid.
Mayor, Commissioners, I think that the permanent waiver lies in the rules and regulations within the Alcohol and Beverage Control Act and with the schools also, because I think approving this action kind of places the shoe on the other foot, and knowing that there's a liquor establishment there, acquiring this property, I think the schools would understand that if they tried to place a teaching facility there or a school facility there, it wouldn't happen. The Public Education Department, I'm sure the Board of Education, I'm sure the superintendent wouldn't allow it. So I think that in itself is the assurance.
I think that's an excellent point, because by having this public, I mean, this is why it's the perfect idea to have a batter shell process, by the way, because now the parties have heard from each other. The school now is on notice of Raymond's concerns, and, you know, you're still asking for the plat amendment anyway, so it's, yes, that's a good point.
Thank you all.
Exactly. By asking for this plat amendment and purchasing these properties within close proximity to Raymond's, I believe now the school board waives any right they have to object to the presence of that property or that establishment, because it was there when they purchased the property. And I think that is the protection that the owners of Raymond's are asking about. Their being there at the time the property is purchased by the school is their protection.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, at this time, I will stand for a motion to approve the request for a plat amendment at 910 North Date Street.
Mayor Whitehead, I'd like to make that motion that we approve the request for a plat amendment at 910 North Date Street from Michael Merrill and Monaco Properties Incorporated, pursuant to Chapter 15, Section 15 through 17, amendment of plats as presented. I'll second.
I have a motion and a second for the approval of the request for a plat amendment at 910 North Date Street. Is there any further questions, comments, concerns, discussion?
I'm going to make a comment now because I'm going to vote against this, and I just want you to know why. The reason why is I'm still not really clear that Raymond's is protected well enough, even though I'm absolutely in favor of the school going there, and I know you're going to get it. But it also suggests up here to me in reading this that it would have been a good idea to have Raymond's put in their application for expansion prior to this being done instead of after the fact, asking for that waiver. And because I'm not part of the licensing committee in the state, I really read this, but I still don't read it super clearly. And so because I still have a question mark in there, and I'm glad we'll go forward for the schools, but I do want to make that understood that I have some concern that my questions haven't been answered real clearly.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Okay, is there any further discussion, questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1. Thank you. Thank you all. The next item on our agenda this morning is item G2, discussion action resolution number 39-1819, approval to submit the application for Juvenile Adjudication Fund, JAF grant for teen court and the presenter this morning is Judge Bobby Sanders.
Good morning, Mayor, City Commission. I am on the agenda requesting your approval for us to submit the application for fiscal year 2020 for the Juvenile Adjudication Fund grant for teen court. I believe you have the copy of what I'm requesting, and the purposes are the monetary purposes for requests are itemized on there.
Thank you, Judge. Are there any questions, comments, concerns?
Yeah.
Yes. Manager Madrid.
The required in-kind match and funding are already in place.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, I will stand for a motion for resolution number 391819, approval of the submission of application for Juvenile Adjudication Fund, JAF grant for teen court.
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further questions, comments, concerns, discussion?
I'd like to make a comment. Judge Sanders, I've known you for so many years, and my kids have been in your courtroom, and you've always done what I think is such a good thing for these young people, to teach them without hurting them. And I admire the fact that you still do this, and you don't give up, and I want to thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Sandra Whitehead.
Aye.
Honorable Kathy Clark.
Aye.
Honorable Ralph Hessler.
Aye.
Honorable Paul Baca.
Aye.
Honorable George Takei.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. The next item on our agenda this morning is item G3, discussion action resolution number 401819, setting fees for fuel and other charges at the municipal airport. Blair Wyman, airport manager. Come on down.
Mayor, Commissioners, the background on this item is that apparently prior to today, prices had been set a long time ago. And I couldn't locate a reliable document where that had been done or any policies that have been in place. This is to establish at least a framework in the interim so that we're not severely overcharging or undercharging for fuel and other supplies at the airport. This is to establish a cost plus policy so that if fuel prices or oil prices rise or fall, that it'll be directly related to the price for all the customers, and there won't be any discretionary pricing or delay in pricing. Thank you.
Thank you. Blair, comments?
Good morning, Mayor, Commissioners, and City Manager. He's spoken well for me. With the rise of fuel prices lately, it has gone slightly over what we've been charging, so we have a discrepancy for a short time. And we're just looking to be able to move quickly in the future as prices rise, which I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. We can adjust our prices so that we're not losing any money.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions, comments, concerns by the commission?
Of course, when we're dealing with pennies.
Mayor Pro Tem.
One, I really, I appreciate cost plus. I think that's the way to go with something that varies so frequently in prices. Is this that you've figured out, Mr. Wyman, is it pretty standard in the airline industry that it's 10 cents for self-serve and 30 for cost, or where did we come up with these add-on prices? Is that something that we researched with other places, or was this something that we came up with ourselves?
I've done research of the other municipal airports in the region, and the prices vary greatly. It appears to be largely unregulated, but to add the 10 cents and the 30 cents puts us right in the middle of the group. Many are over $5. Some, such as Santa Fe, which has a much greater business is lower, but it puts us right in the middle. We'll be at 483 at the present cost of fuel, 483 for full service, 463 for self-service. Those numbers were advised by the city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Lemon. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I will now stand for a motion.
I'll make that motion. I'll make the motion that, based on 10 cents per gallon cost plus for self-service and 30 cents per gallon cost plus for full service, that we accept these recommendations as made by Mr. Wyman, the airport manager and city manager Madrid.
I think the motion would be just to approve the resolution.
Then I approve the resolution.
I have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 401819, setting fees for fuel and other charges at the municipal airport as presented by city manager Madrid and Blair Wyman, airport manager. Is there any further questions, comments, concerns, discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Sandra Whitehead.
Aye.
Honorable Kathy Clark.
Aye.
Honorable Rolf Heschler.
Aye.
Honorable Paul Baca.
Aye.
Honorable George Takei.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Commission.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda this morning is item G4, discussion action resolution number 411819, NMFA loan refinancing. Manager Madrid, city manager, you are on.
Thank you, Mayor. In review of our debt service schedule for all of the city's debt over the next 25 years, I've been making some discoveries. This is one of them, and with the help of the New Mexico Finance Authority, we have a small group of loans that are outstanding from prior years, and I could name them. They are PPRF 2246, PPRF 1704, and RIP 9516. These terms vary. In some of them only have a few years left, some have more than 10 years left. The largest one, I believe, matures in 2022. In combination to refinance these. Now, normally refinancing involves borrowing new money, lengthening the term, something that is convenient to lower the payment. In this case, the interest rates have dropped so significantly with no one noticing. All we're going to do is refinance without any new debt and without lengthening the term. The savings in total on these three loans would be about $213,000 for the rest of the term. We won't change anything except the payments will be lower. We're not extending the terms and we're not increasing the debt to the city. We will be looking at our debt capacity so that we can do some more infrastructure improvements. Some of the things that I've talked to the NMFA about are redoing our entire IT system as one of them. Renovating these chambers is another one. Acquiring any other necessary equipment that we might need. That's not related to this item. This item is only to re-sign a new agreement and lower the interest rate and increase the savings. We'll reduce our overall payments by about $213,000. And I ask your approval.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns? Mayor Pro Tem. I see those wheels. I see those wheels are spinning.
Manager Madrid, thank you. This is overdue. It's way overdue. And I appreciate the fact that you, one, have a good relationship with NMFA, and two, that you've taken it upon yourself to take a look at some of these things. And I really appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor. How about that?
What's that?
All I said was thanks.
That's great. Thank you. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
One more comment. Just a slight comment, Manager, in that, so if we refinance at a lower rate and keep the same terms, I understand the money savings. What if we refinance but kept the same payments and paid off early? Is there any merit to that? And I'm thinking about how I would run my own household, not necessarily, with the city. And I understand maybe going out to get additional money and doing some other things, but.
That is absolutely an option, Commissioner. I took this as the easiest and quickest way. It's not the end of our financing options. I think the reason that I wanted to take this action now is because it's simple, it's easy. They have a board meeting this Friday, so I wanted to send the approval. But I think in the future, I will bring back an action to pay these off entirely and refinance along with some new money.
Okay.
But yes, the short answer is yes, that would have been a good option.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have any further questions, comments, concerns, discussion? Hearing none, I will stand for a motion.
I'll make that motion. That we approve resolution number 4118/19 NMFA loan refinancing as presented by Mr. Morris, Madrid City Manager.
And do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 411819 NMFA loan refinancing as presented and discussed by Manager Morris Madrid. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Honorable Sandra Whitehead.
Aye.
Honorable Kathy Clark.
Aye.
Honorable Ralph Hirschler.
Aye.
Honorable Paul Baca.
Aye.
Honorable George Takei.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is item H. H1, City Manager. Do you have a report?
Yes, Mayor, I have a few things to report. The first one is on behalf of our sanitation director, Andres Alvarez, and it's a report on the spring cleanup. It took place on April 27th. Some of you were there. They had 176 customers show up. The total tonnage collected on that day was 85.38 tons, not including the county convenience centers. Last year there were 165 customers and 61 tons were collected. So it increased by over 25%. There were a lot of volunteers that showed up. I don't have all the names in front of me. He also wanted me to especially thank the Rotary Club for sponsoring the volunteers and providing an awesome lunch to them. So we happen to have our Rotary president here. Thank you, Winnie. That was real successful. I have to say that I was not there because I was at another event at the golf course. And this is one of the few times that I'm going to say you as you versus me. You all know how to put on one hell of a golf tournament. And I've never seen anything like it. I play terrible, but I had one of the best times I've had in a long, long time. And really, it was because of the people, the volunteers, just the way that the community got behind this thing. It was entirely awesome. I felt like I was with 100 old friends, and you don't get that just in any community at any time. That's part of the success of the event. That's a big part. And I wanted to make that known, that this is probably the last time I'm going to say you guys, because I'm one of you. But I've never seen anything like it, and I wanted to report that here. It's a lot more than the condition of the greens that makes an enjoyable event. And TRC displayed it that day. The other thing, I have two more. Jay and I were going to bring something up for discussion, and I can't remember what it was. Do you remember, Jay?
Yes, I did. So I think we're talking about the consent calendar. Did you want to mention? I reiterate my report, but like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll wrap mine up, and then I wanted to make a suggestion to the mayor and the commissioners, because I think that, we get caught in doing things the same way over and over, and I can't stand that, and I know you all can't either. But today we had a few people that signed up for public input, and for the most part, they were complimentary, compared to other places that I've seen. But what I would like to propose is that every other meeting, instead of having public input, that in the evening, we have meetings with the manager. And maybe at about 6 p.m. or the Wednesday of the next meeting, I'll come to the chambers and stay here for a couple of hours just to listen to any issues from anybody regarding anything, because I think 99% of the time, the issues delivered to us here are going to end up in my office anyway. That's the first reason. The second reason is the one complaint that I've heard about our meetings that we have is that they're during the day when I can't go. This provides an opportunity for people that can't show up during the day but want to come in the evening. I could format this meeting. It'll be very informal, but it's something that I could report back to the mayor and the commissioners on the following meeting. And I think that would keep us a little more focused in our work and allow people that want to report any issues or get any answers here, they can't ask questions. They can't ask, why do you have 4 people with only one piece of equipment when we're grading the street? Well, here I can't tell them because you need 2 spotters behind them when they're going to back up, and you need another one to clear the intersection up front. Detailed answers like that I can give in person, that we can't engage in here. And I'd be glad to do that in the evenings, and I'm just mentioning that for your consideration. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Attorney Rubin, you have a report.
Yes, 2 things. I flipped here online here since we had our discussion. I feel a little better about the advice I gave regarding the issue of the school and the action the commission took. I'm looking here. I found under the domestic alcohol control regulations under section 15-10-2.7. There's a definition of school, and the main definition is a school means a center for attendance where educational instruction is offered by certified school instructors. So obviously we don't have that situation here, so I feel good about where we went today. The discussion that Mr. Madrid and I had actually involves our consent calendar. What we commonly do is that when we have minutes from various boards, we'll put them on our consent calendar and then we will approve them. And that's fine, and we have done that, and the commission feels that's appropriate to do that. That's certainly your option. A concern that Mr. Madrid raised, and this is something we've had before, is that by approving the consent calendar, are you actually approving the action taken at those various boards? And in the past, there's been some commissions that we don't want to do that, as opposed to actually calling consent calendar where you're approving the minutes, you're actually just acknowledging the minutes and just saying we got these minutes and we read them and no action is taken. That way you're not really approving anything, or you can keep the way you have it where you are approving the minutes, and although that does not necessarily mean you're approving what happened at the board meetings, there could be an interpretation that you are approving them. So that's a concern that Mr. Madrid and I discussed. So it's really a question of how the commission wants to go. I've seen the commission do various things where I've seen it where we have the way it is now, and I've seen also the commission has said, no, we don't want to do that. We want to have it just as a separate acknowledgement. So I just wanted to mention that to you. It's something for the commission to discuss and maybe at a future meeting as to how you wish to proceed.
Thank you, Attorney Rubin. Commissioner Zaghetti, do you have a report?
Okay. It was a great fiesta weekend. Heard a lot of good things, had a lot of people, and we made it through. Chief Aragon told me there were no significant incidents over the weekend. Everything went well. And I want to congratulate the Fiesta Board and everybody for putting on a good show. That leads me to another point, and at this point I find myself in 180 degrees off of our first item on our agenda this year, the award made to Ms. Griffin. Over the past couple of weeks, I have been approached by several people, and then those comments in turn have led me to discussions with other people, and I have not heard one positive comment about anything, any contributions that Griffin and Associates have made for this town in promotion of tourism. The comments I have heard are unanimously negative, and they feel we're not getting our money's worth out of what has been spent. I can add on to that. On Friday evening, the night we begin Fiesta, we had to make a trip down to Las Cruces. Spent 3 hours in the car with the radio on. Heard all kinds of announcements about events in Las Cruces. Didn't hear one peep about Fiesta. We had some people come in. There's an Airbnb next to us. They came down here from Albuquerque this weekend. Had no idea that Fiesta was going on. My wife, Marilyn, was manning a booth down at the fair at the Ralph Edwards Park, and again, a number of the people from out of town she talked to found themselves there. They didn't know Fiesta was going on. They just happened to wander in. So I'm a little bit disappointed that Ms. Griffin, yeah, she may have great qualifications, and being inducted into the Hall of Fame is a great honor, but the input that I have received totally belies any contribution that company has made for the tourism and outreach on behalf of this town. And realizing that, yeah, we are small fish in the pond that Griffin and Associates deals with. They've got many big customers that spend big bucks on promotion and advertising, and our contribution to the budget is minimal. And I think I believe their contribution to us is also very minimal. So I think we really need to seriously be looking at how we do promotion and outreach. I saw something on YouTube yesterday. It was pointed out to me a little while ago. I just got around to looking at it. It's a Jack and Gab Explorer, and it's a young couple that travel around, and they visited Truth or Consequences. They did a little 8-minute video that has to be the greatest promotion of TRC that I have ever seen. I mean, if we had to spend money, I would take this video, duplicate it, and send it around. It'll do more good than anything that has been done on behalf of this community at the time I've been here. I think that, well, the further discussion on it, I think we'll have to wait for an agenda item. But I just wanted to to let you know that I think we can do a lot better than we have been doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Baca, you have a report.
I do not. Thank you.
Commissioner Hessler, do you have a report?
A couple of minor, small things. One is that we have our planning retreat scheduled for the end of this month, on the 29th. If I will help, I'll gladly help facilitate it, so please send me some topics of discussion that you would like to get me to put on the board prior to, so that I can do some preparation. Whatever your interests are, I would appreciate it. I intend to meet with Mr. Madrid prior to that date as well, and make sure I capture some of his concerns, and we'll get those things on the board, and we'll do a similar type retreat as we did last time, and so we can discuss all those topics and get into the details. So I would appreciate your help in that regard. A quick comment about the trash pickup day. I got a chance to work there for a couple hours that morning. In the interest of change, it's a nice event. I've noticed that some of the folks that were in line for 2 hours. Perhaps one of the changes could be, and I have to give credit to Mr. Adon Trujillo for this, is for the month of April, we could call it the City Cleanup Month, and perhaps some way through the utility department, some other way, we could provide a coupon for our residents for that month to dump one load at the city landfill, which would avoid having those long waits in line for folks. It would be a little quicker and easier for folks to access us, and perhaps it wouldn't be such a strain, although it's a fun time. It might be more convenient for folks to be able to come out, and I imagine they'll pick up more trash for that 1 month than we would any other time. And I know I'm a party pooper. But it would be much more convenient for our public to be able to do that, and maybe we'll make a bigger dent in cleaning up this community. So that might be for discussion during our planning retreat, but that's just a suggestion for next year.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Clark.
I kind of like that, Commissioner Hessler. I like that a lot. Party poop. A couple of things, just comments. One, Commissioner Hessler, I did get a whisper from the manager that there is no prepayment penalty on the refinancing of those loans. So both options are open.
Okay.
And I like that, but I didn't know if there was a prepayment penalty or not. Commissioner Spaghetti, if you want to give me a call, I can tell you a little bit about the tourism board since I started it in 2005. And it is coming back up to us again because it's going to be on the budget, the issue about funding and who we're funding. So, you know, maybe changes are good sometimes, and maybe they're not, or maybe there's compromise in there somewhere. I like the idea, Manager, of your willingness to sit with the public at 6 o'clock once a month. I think that's an excellent idea, and I think that you're right, these people are going to end up at your desk anyway, so you might as well knock them all out at one time. And then, you know, give us kind of the condensed version of what the real concerns are, and then maybe we can do a little more activity, try to get to a solution for these folks. I think that might be a good idea. And Mr. Rubin, putting that consent calendar, what if we had the consent calendar for the city business, which would be the city minutes and the city payables, and then separate the other boards that present the minutes to us, and then we just acknowledge them? Is that kind of what I'm hearing that could be said?
We have done that before. One commission liked that idea, and then I think the subsequent commission said, no, we actually would approve these. So, but yes, what you just said is really what I had in mind.
Okay, what do we have to do then, Mayor, Manager, to change the format of our agendas?
Just
Do we
create,
have to personally have to create it?
Or just, I think you just change
Just separate them out?
the wording, leave everything as is, acknowledgement of, library advisory board.
Yes.
Just change the wording on the
Just
line.
change the wording on it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
my concern was, if you approve them, are you sanctioning them? And if you didn't approve them, then what? Then where are they? So
So-
acknowledgement of
They're
receiving the
minutes.
minutes, I think is Exactly right.
Well, and the acknowledgement's important because, you know, you want the public to be aware that you have read them, you are receptive to what's being said to you from the various boards. So it's good to have on the agenda that, you know, it's being acknowledged. Yes.
And then, Mayor, would we have to pull public comment on a discussion action item before we change that format? Or can we just do that? City Clerk?
This is my plan, and I know that I've talked to Manager Madrid and Renee, Clerk Renee about it. I think what we're looking at is, a while back, I had presented taking public comment off of one of the agendas anyway. So Manager Madrid came up with this idea of maybe our first meeting of the month, we would have public comment and response to public comment and do our agenda as normal. The second meeting of the month, we would do away with public comment in response to public comment, and at 6 o'clock on the evening of the meeting, they would come and meet with Manager Madrid here. So instead of doing public comment, they would do it the first meeting, but the second meeting, they would just come. Anyone wishing to come and speak with Manager Madrid would speak with him here in the chambers, starting at 6 o'clock. I'm sure he's not going to want to be here for 6 or 10 hours, you know, so he will probably set a time limit. Once he gets established with that, if it works, then we will possibly put that into our rules of procedure. And then maybe bring in a commissioner every once in a while to meet with him and whoever has concerns. But when he does have the discussion with the public that evening, he will bring it back in a format to us at our next meeting to let us know that this was discussed and this was taken care of, or this needs to be looked at further or whatever. So it's not, you know, keeping us completely out of the loop. It's just kind of freeing up more of our time for business meeting instead of sitting here listening to the public comment, again, that goes to the manager's office.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and I like that idea. But the question, another part of that question was, do we have to formally take action to change our format of our meetings? Or can we just do that?
I don't think we have to at this time. I think this is kind of just to see if it's going to work, kind of an experiment. And then if it does work and people seem to be in agreement with it and it works, then we will put it on the agenda to bring it back and make it a change in the rules of procedure. Correct, Renee?
Yes.
Is that the way it would be?
Yeah, I'll double check and I'll look right now. I believe there's something in there that says it may be changed around. If not, yeah, we can see how it'll work and change it around, or make sure that statement's in there that says this is the order of business to be used as a guideline.
But
and
again,
then you can do whatever you, yeah, then you can do whatever you
I
want.
would take it off the agenda for the next meeting, though. I wouldn't have to split it back to the next meeting. We're not going to have public comment on the agenda, though. Because I understand what you just said, Mayor, that the second meeting of the month, you would not have it on the agenda, public comments. So are you saying that you would...
Right. So the first meeting of the month, we would have it on the agenda. The second meeting of the month, we would not have it on the agenda, but we would make the notation that Manager Madrid would be available.
But I'm sorry, Archie, but are you saying that you would, this next meeting in May, the second meeting in May would not be on the agenda as public comments?
Is that...
I would not have it go into effect quite that fast. I think I would have our usual format for May, and then make the announcement for the next meeting how you're going to go for future months.
And we can do that.
That's what I suggest.
And again, if it works, then we will bring it back and put it on the agenda to have it changed in the rules of procedure. Again, I want to put it out there that public comment is a privilege. We don't have to allow public comment, and we do that. You know, so again, when we change it, you know, we have to try different things. We have to make things better for not only the public, but for us. So again, these are just experiments, and we will follow Attorney Rubin's recommendation, and then at our next meeting, public comment will remain on the agenda, but we will make people aware, we will make the announcement that in the June meeting, we will have public comment on our first agenda, but on our second agenda, we will not have public comment, but anyone wanting to speak with the manager in response to a public comment can come and meet with him here in the chambers, face-to-face, one-on-one, at 6 o'clock.
Yes, I'm glad you're gonna make an announcement at the next meeting.
Yeah, and we'll do that, and thank you for bringing that to our attention, and we will.
I like the fact of doing it early in the meeting, that way you have a more full audience than we have right now.
And we will. And again, anyone that comes into the office to sign up to be on the agenda or anything, if that can be mentioned to them, that this is our possibility of looking at. You know, because sometimes today we only had a few, sometimes we have people that speak for public comment for up to an hour, and then we go into our business meeting. Remember, we're here to conduct business, and if there's complaints that need to be taken care of, they should be taken care of with either a commissioner by calling us on the phone, but preferably go into the city manager. If your issue is not taken care of by the city manager, then we as the commission are here for you to look into that. So let's just try to make things easier and better for all of us. All right. Now is it my turn? My turn.
You just took over.
I just took over? Thank you. I would like to make a comment also on Commissioner Zaghetti's comment regarding tourism. I think that we need to look strongly at that, you know, in ways. Joni Griffin has done good for our community, but then in other ways not so good, again, as far as promotion and making things aware, the public aware, the community aware, everything aware of advertising the things that are going on. So I would like to look at something, maybe bringing this back to the city of Tiercy. I mean, we have a lot of great people in our community that could do this and keep our money here locally and promote our city in ways that would be terrific for us. Also, I just want to say thank you. I have a big list that I've made here. I know that I'm going to miss a lot of people, but remember, when I say thank you, I say thank you to everybody. Again, I'm just going to ditto what Manager Madrid said. April 27th, we did have a cleanup, spring cleanup at the transfer station. I want to thank, first of all, I would like to thank Officer Marin. He was there from start to finish. We did have a couple of issues. He jumped on board, he took care of it. I mean, he was back and forth, taking care of letting people know, and just talking to people, just the public relations that he had was wonderful, and I appreciate everything he did for us that day. I want to thank again Andy Alvarez, the manager, department head of the sanitation, Tracy Burnett, all the sanitation personnel that were there, all the volunteers. I understand that Commissioner Heschler was there for a little while. I only saw him briefly when he pulled in and pulled out, but thank you. I want to thank the Rotary Club, Renee Canton, Steve Buckley, Rebecca Dow, Mr. and Mrs. George Lee, and anyone else that was there. Thank you. That was a great, quick meal, and just, I think everybody did enjoy it. The public, I thank you all for coming out and participating and being there and waiting in line. I know it was warm that day. I know that, you know, you waited there. You didn't abandon your ship or anything. Again, Commissioner Heschler mentioned that maybe we could look at an easier way. That is great. I appreciate that. But also we have people outside of the city of Truth or Consequences that also brings their stuff. So, you know, this is something we need to look at. The golf course, The golf course was really great. The Fiesta Tournament, I know they hadn't had one in many years. I think it's been 5 years. That was also on the same Saturday, April 27th. I started out at the golf course. That's why I wasn't at the transfer station. I think there were 52 participants. I saw a lot of people coming together, having a great time. The golf course looked great. I want to thank the staff of the golf course. I want to thank the volunteers. Again, I can't mention each and every one of you, but thank you. Last weekend, we had a terrific parade. I want to thank the Fiesta Committee. I want to thank the Fiesta Board, all the volunteers, all the vendors, the city parks that took care of OJ. Thank you. You did a great job, your staff. There wasn't any problems. We had a concert at the Civic Center, which was a great event. We had a street dance both nights, Friday and Saturday. I want to thank the bands that participated. I want to thank Old Brick Cafe. I just want to thank everybody, the police department, the EMS, the fire department, everybody that participated. Thank you. I think that's enough, right? Thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda is adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I so moved.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And it is 10:55. Please note that.
And I was hoping you would make it to 11, because then you would break your record.
I also want to thank Chuck. Chuck was everywhere too. He did a great job. Thank you, Chuck. Yes, thank you.
Having food at 11:30 across the way?
Oh, yes. We're having food across the way at 11:30. Please join us. This is an appreciation dinner for all our law enforcement. As Law Enforcement Week, again, we'll recognize our...